Hi, my name is Scott Armanini. I work at UC Davis in a centralized data science group, which is called DataLab.
Charles Marsala. I have a Menlo Innovation Hub. We're in El Camino. I previously was the mayor of Atherton. I'm currently the president of the Italians of the Southeast and working with the Italian government trade agency on bringing Italian companies into America.
That's incredible. We'll have to chat after this. Hi, I'm Elsa. I lead community programs at Snowflake, including this wonderful AI hub that we're all hanging out in today. So it's great to be here.
I'm Andra keay. I'm the Managing Director of Silicon Valley Robotics and really involved in growing the global robotics ecosystem.
Okay, so maybe let's start with the first questions about the barrier for community adoption. So maybe start with Andy, since you are trying to build a community since 15 years ago. What are the challenges and where do you see how we empower the community growth?
I ask founders what they need most and what's holding them up most. And I look for the things that aren't being solved by everybody else. So when people say, what does Silicon Valley Robotics do? It's always a struggle because my preferred definition is to say we accelerate the robotics technology and founders. And they say, what size checks do you write? Or when's your program open? And how do we apply for it? And the answer, I can't answer those. We are working with all companies. We don't have an opening date, and we're not writing checks. But we're solving your problems that allow you to get to market fastest. And that's acceleration. And it's not doing the things that other people do. It's finding the things that you really still have problems with.
Okay, great. Next one. First, do you enjoy the menu and the food today?
Yeah.
Come on, let's give a big round of applause for Elsa. So Snowflake is well known for software infrastructure company. So where do you see Snowflake help in the physical AI space?
That's a great question. We're squarely in the data and AI space, right? But I think the most interesting applications come with that intersection of physical AI, right? When you can see that data come to life, you can see what is possible, right? With some of the work that Andrea was talking about just now, so inspiring. And so when I think about where the community has a real opportunity here, I'm so interested in kind of that tinkering exploration phase, right? There's a massive gap when it comes to physical AI between learning about it and knowing maybe conceptually what it is, and then being able to build a company around it, build technology around it, right? So how can we serve that tinkering audience of people who are like, I don't really know what physical AI is or how to get into it. And there's so much cost, right? There's a huge barrier to entry. And so things like we're considering building a lab here, right, at the Silicon Valley AI Hub, where people can bring their data in their software. Should we? I was thinking about it.
I've got robots for you.
And the branding is already there. I mean, Silicon Valley, it's great. So, how can we, unless you're at a top university with an incredible lab, like how can we make it truly accessible to the broader community? So that's where I get fired up. I mean, especially when it comes to AI, one of the most powerful things about AI is how it's democratized access to technology for people. Like my dad, who is a teacher and knows nothing about coding, is vibe coding apps for his kindergarten students, right? That's very, very empowering. We still have a lot of room to create that accessibility and democratization for physical AI. So that's where I'm fired up to get involved, and let's chat.
Okay, great. Again, so we have a happy hour today after around 4:20 p.m. sponsored by Snowflake. Let's give Elsa a big round of applause again. So next, Charles actually sponsored our first community event physical AI builders just 1 month ago. Thank you, Charles. Can you talk about your thoughts?
Yes, I was a mechanical engineer, and so at my age, I got to see a lot going on. My first projects were robotics at Tulane, and then I had a job where I was out in the field for covering the whole West Coast for the military. We sold to the military bases and the Boeing and such, so I got to see the evolution in a way of AI, how we went from a robotic arm in our class project to where we are today in manufacturing. So in our ecosystem that we have right now, I'd say the biggest challenges are we have to filter and prep, because a lot of people come in and they're younger and they need to know when they write those letters and how to get into the appointment and make sure that when you get that appointment, you're gonna make the best of it. And that is our biggest challenge, I think, right now, is preparing people so that when you get the opportunity to find the investors, you're gonna make the best of it.
So Scott, my old friend, Scott, actually you cross like many different areas, from corporate to angel investors to universities. I believe you must have some insight about how to support or empower the physical AI community.
I think back to the Parisian salons where you had a rich population that would spend their hours after the day concluded eating and drinking and laughing and arguing and crying and commiserating with each other. But it wasn't an echo chamber in the sense that they had a cross-section of society. And I think one of the most important aspects is that we have the ability to spend time with each other. And that's probably the thing that we do the least of as individuals. So what can we do in order to get away from our day jobs, away from our side hustles, come here to the Silicon Valley AI Center at Snowflake, and share ideas? And it's that cross-pollination, that fertilization, I think that's most important, and will help to advance the industry as a whole.
Can I say one more thing? Echoing on that wonderful sentiment, I couldn't agree more. And for those of you who kicked off the day with us, Jeremiah actually talked a lot about the culture in the Bay Area and like how fortunate we are that community is kind of in the air here, right? It's in the DNA. So I encourage you all, like, you clearly aren't taking it for granted because you're here today, right? But harness that. Like, that is not something that's true everywhere, and we learn so much by getting out, being curious. You never know who you're talking to, so like truly being open-minded and asking questions. Community isn't a defined thing, right? It's about relationships and networks that can help support one another and get you all where you're trying to go. And it's in the air here, so make sure you're a part of it.
I'd love to follow on from both Scott and Elsa about that, because community is in the air here, but not always diversity. And I love that Scott brought this up. One of the things that really kickstarts real innovation is having diversity. And even though I am a gender advocate, it is not purely gender. It is age, it is occupation, skill sets, it is experience levels, it is industry background levels, it is global perspective levels. And perhaps the most truly innovative conversations come when you have diversity in your community.
Okay, great. So building a community for software is easy because Silicon Valley software was eating the world. That's like a phrase like 10 years ago. But now, with physical AI, my question to all of you is that, okay, how can people really interact with the physical world in the community? Where are the laboratories, where are the supply chains, where are the different companies and build MVPs, which is very different than building software. Do you have any ideas, suggestions, any of you?
Seems like your wheelhouse.
I will just point out that the person famous for the phrase software is eating the world is now a huge physical AI and robotics advocate. Just
Yes,
for a
actually.
little while, but he got there. And you know, I've seen companies realize that the step after moving bits around the digital world is to say, well, now what do we do about atoms in the real physical world? And that is a exponentially more interesting and more difficult challenge.
I'll add, one of our applications in our products initially was I was out in the field replacing shelving and hand picking of parts in mezzanines where people are going up and down. American Airlines was one of our big customers. So we put in an automated retrieval system. So the next step is to have the robotics picking the parts, because you're continually trying to take care of those jobs that people are going to get injured doing, or doing late at night, or it's very hard to do. And the enthusiasm that comes when you are in the communities, you hear different applications. And you start to then think, oh, how to take that application and bring it into another one that's your own idea. So you have something that you're passionate about. So in our building, we have a company right now that is doing a lot of robotic design worldwide in farming and many other applications. And you might not even think about it until you see it, and then there's that aha moment where you realize we should have thought of that 2 years ago. So that's the other part coming along, is we're seeing so many ideas now where it's about a lot of brainstorming and having those aha moments.
Yeah, I think the aha moment is well said, and I think we can make it bigger in our minds than it needs to be, right? And put robotics in a laboratory, and it's untouchable, and only people like Andra can get there. But just go on Amazon, right? You can get a Raspberry Pi pretty cheap. You can buy little robotic devices for your kids that they can program themselves. And so I think, similar to AI and getting comfortable with new AI technologies, like getting everyone really comfortable with easy access robotics, right? And then we'll innovate so much faster if everyone's kind of on the same page. So, and it's fun.
I love it. The gift giving season is approaching. Go out and buy a robot.
Cool. So I want to be a little bit specific. So in the physical world, a startup needs to test their product. They need a laboratory, lots of interaction with maybe robots, maybe equipment, not necessarily everything's robots. And also, once they start to build something, they need a solution to build the cheapest solution to build their MVP. I'm not talking about the production yield, which Tesla is facing different problem. Let's talk about the smaller startups. They need laboratories, need MVP solutions, so they can at least show off some products. Any suggestions, ideas?
I'm going to refer to the connection to market often. It's often more important not to nail down the details of your minimum viable prototype, so much as to make sure that you're building the thing that is really needed in the market. So I really do encourage a little bit more of the getting out of the building and exploring all of these emerging markets so that you connect with a problem that really needs to be solved that you might not have known about. But I also want to just refer back to the Buy a Robot for Christmas. We've been part of growing the physical AI labs, hackathons, training spaces. We've been working with Poland Robotics and Hugging Face and running hackathons, and now a weekly training gym where you can remote operate in, or you can come and visit, and you can get time on these 3D printed robot arms that are set up for AI model training. And you can be trying out a whole range of tasks. Each week we set up different tasks, whether it's bonsaiing or folding t-shirts or building models. You get a chance to play around with robots. It's so much more affordable now. But to me, the barrier of entry is being around other people that know how to get started and what is made it possible. And so we find the community aspect is the thing. People can go online and buy the hardware, and then they still reach out to us saying, but I got stuck, now what? Community.
I have nothing to add to that other than that you're seeing community happen in real time, because can we please host that hackathon here at the AI?
Ooh,
That's all. So stay tuned.
planning. My question is, Scott, I know UC has lots of data centers and data innovation innovation centers and AI innovation centers? Will you still have a robotic or hardware or manufacturer lab soon, or maybe already there?
The answer is yes, we have them right now, of course. One of the things that UC Davis, I'll speak from our perspective, are doing, we're putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, making significant investments in plants and equipment, which allows the community to come together to spur innovation. We opened in May a $1 billion facility in South Sacramento on our health sciences campus, which is called Aggie Square. And the purpose is to have the violent collision, I should say the beautiful collision of ideas, which allow for applied AI and applied science to actually come to market and come to market quickly. I think that this is just an example of what we're doing and the types of investments that need to be made, not just here in California, but across the country.
I know Jeremy also running a community there as well. Since each of you has lots of interaction with community members, the next question is that what type of support? We have lots of entrepreneurs, investors, and also ecosystem players here. What type of support are needed or needs we can ask for other ecosystem players to support to empower the community?
Well, we've got in the building several companies that are from Latin America, from India, China, that are there bringing teams into Silicon Valley to learn the Silicon Valley way. So our support right now is also geared at listening to what each company needs and seeing it through our expertise and our connections. We're able to find those applications where you can help with the sales. Because a lot of people, it's about raising the revenue, but you can raise revenue internally if you've got the sales. So if we can look at how to increase the marketing and find applications or places where they haven't gone to market yet and accelerate that time from introduction to sale, that increases the revenue. And then also, I'll soon be looking at putting some displays up. As you were there, we're yet to have, say, a receptionist that's an AI. So we're looking at a few other things that we can do so that when we have our events there, people are starting to sense and grasp what we need to be doing and have the wheels turn to have the aha moment.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. There's also other community leaders in this room. I know particularly like Jeremy run like a AI event, mainly on software. Let's talk about the enabling the physical AI aspect. Do you guys have any suggestions for other community players or leaders, how they can support or enable physical AI?
I'm going to start just winging it, you know. So when we talk about community leaders, politics comes to play. I have a TV show in New Orleans called Celebrating Culture. And as it turned out, Mardi Gras, which is really not anything about, well, maybe it is AI. When it got started in Italy, Bellagio has big robots that come down the street. Not so much done with AI, but you have the format of, when you look at the robots of Mardi Gras in Italy, you see that. So the ambassador was there recently. I interviewed her about what Italy was looking for. And Italy is very much, they've set up an Innovate in San Francisco, where they have many companies that come through there that are trying to get into the US market. So for us, you can see their hand go up there. It's working with them. I just came back from DC and meetings out there where the embassies and the foreign governments are really trying to learn the Silicon Valley way. So we're blessed to be here. And by chance, I ended up out here, having grown up in New Orleans, I ended up in Silicon Valley, and things happen sometimes. So the other thing I'd say is, you never know until you put your first foot forward, how much help you're gonna get. So you start a process. We started this, and then suddenly the ambassador is saying, how do we help you? And you get involved with your project, things are gonna happen, you're gonna get people that reach out with a hand, and even me being here today is because of David, and then actually I see Jay over there that made that introduction. So it's just about getting out there and knocking on a lot of doors, and it's also that the government is doing things because the trade agencies are having those trade missions, and they want to get back involved. They want to be involved. They know that all countries, like you're talking about India and cars, everybody has to learn the Silicon Valley way of what we're doing and bring it back. So we're in a great spot.
I love that you told me that Mardi Gras was Italy, because I suddenly realized, well, Leonardo da Vinci's robots included the lion that would go ahead of processions and strew flowers and so on, one of the world's first robots. But, so fancy that. The other thing that I would like to say about how to help if you're a founder doing physical AI is, to coin the Bezos phrase, just do what makes your beer taste better. Too often, lack of money and just the sheer geekiness of founders in robotics leads you to think that you need to build everything yourself. It is actually far more cost effective to purchase all the things that aren't your core, what makes your beer taste better. Because the length of time that you end up spending troubleshooting and testing and fixing things that you cobble together, and honestly, it doesn't help you get ready for more manufacturability when you're trying to go from 1 to 1,000. You save that initial outlay in purchasing commercial grade, you save that 10 times over in actually getting your product out the door faster.
Okay, any question? You can take 1 or 2 questions. This gentleman in the back, speak louder.
Hi, great to see that you're forming circuit lab, but as you rightly pointed out, access to such facilities is done easy for a lot of people, particularly for countries like India. Is there anything we could do, like a solution that you said, try the robots online and things like that? What are your thoughts on that front? And the second question is, I also see a lot of companies releasing premature products. They're not fully developed. Would it also erode trust in the general public? And how can we, as a community, stand against such practices? Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to start with your second question, and hopefully some of the rest of the panel will have some answers there. If you launch when you're perfect, you waited too long, and you're too late to market. But the reality is that 90 to 99% of all product launches, software or hardware, will fail. So it really is a dance. Get something out there and start working out if it is really useful, and then get better. So I have nothing against poor, unsuccessful products getting out there, because I want that feedback loop to get going, and I really, really want the real world to have an input back into what's happening in the kind of research lab. And speaking of access to the lab, I'm hoping to expand initiatives like Circuit Launch globally. And one of the things that I loved about Circuit Launch was it was not only people who we fund and only people at this university and only people here. It was about open ecosystem. Let's make this as affordable and as open to everyone as possible. But also, depending on where you are, simulation and remote access is now really viable. And I've been working with the IEEE Robotics and Automation Society and the education activities for, I've been the VP of the industry activities there, and we're working together to roll out, for the Global South, access online to robotics labs and robotics education. So these things are just, they're underway.
I think that the only thing I would add to that is perfection is not the first step that you should aim for. It's product market fit, right? And there's always feedback that you can get from the community for free that's going to make you better, regardless of where you are in the world. There are virtual demo nights, right? So I would strongly advocate, well before you feel ready to take your technology into the world, to seek that feedback, because people can see potential, right? We all can see a ton of potential, but you know, you're never gonna end up marching in the right direction, right, if you're not getting that feedback and that input early.
One of the, when I left my job, we had 8,000 products, and I saw the opportunity, we didn't have them on the internet yet. So I built a website that we could do that, and we launched it when we only had maybe 200 products. So the idea of not waiting and getting going, and we kept building. And that had us ahead of our competition because as the years went by, other distributors came out there and started trying to do it. And finally, corporate decided to do what we had done here on our own. So the idea that someone said you build the airplane as you're flying it. You know, you're actually getting going and you're trying to get someplace, but at the same time you're working on it. That gives you an advantage, and also you don't want to lose that. Those 6 months mean so much. So to get going and having it happen is very important, as opposed to letting someone else come up with the idea before you're finished, before you have perfection.
Okay, so I have a good advertisement. Okay. Community, not only connecting Silicon Valley, let's connect something in Texas as well, since I've been more than half of my time. I do want to highlight Silicon Valley is definitely absolutely leading all the software. But Texas has the largest number of manufacturers. It means the two probabilities. Number two, the robot you designed has a pretty good chance in future to be manufactured in Mexico / Texas. Number two is that there are lots of different new opportunities in the manufacturing world which you all can find entrepreneurship opportunity. I think that's what we want to talk about this committee. Thank you so much for panelists. That's a great information. Thank you.
Thank you.